All right, hello, welcome everyone. We'll get started here in a few minutes, actually probably 30 seconds or so. Just want to give everyone enough time to join us here. Thank you for those of you on time joining us for our last webinar of our series here on December 17th. It's AI and HubSpot, the future of personalization. So this has been from our last webinar in our series where we've covering the best AI in HubSpot, how to help turn intelligence into revenue. So we're happy for you guys to join and eager to get started. So we'll give it another 30 seconds or so as we've got a couple more folks that are coming in. All right, welcome everybody, and we'll get started here in just one second. All right, Hamed, you ready to go?
Yes, I'm good. Yeah.
Let's kick it off. All right. Well, again, thank you everyone. I'm Matthew Longi, Chief Marketing Officer for Personalize. Thanks everyone for joining. Today we're going to be talking about AI and HubSpot and the future of personalization. Like I said, I'm going to be one of your speakers today, and joining me is Hamed Tahiri, the CEO of Personalize. You want to give us a shout out, Hamed?
Thank you for joining this webinar. I was excited to share about some of the work we are doing on the technology side. So look forward to that part. And yeah, let's get started.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Yeah, we've got a lot to get through, so we want to jump right into it. So, what we're going to cover today, this is all about personalization. So, and personalization with respect to memory. So, why, frankly, personalization breaks when you don't have the shared context and memory. We're going to talk about how AI agents will struggle to deliver consistent experiences unless you're being driven or you have the infrastructure of memory to support that. Talking about some of the differences in data access and retrieval and what true customer memory is. We're going to talk about how AI memory working inside HubSpot can help your business deliver a consistent multi-step personalization across channels, and how when you share that memory, you can drive better engagement, higher conversions, and stronger revenue outcomes for your business. So, also want to ask you to stick around to the end because we do have a special offer for those of you joining us today, and we'll get through that. So, let me first start with why personalization is important and then what happens when it fails. So, personalization is a key aspect when it comes to driving campaigns, engaging with customers, trying to find your buyers. And I would say personalization is everything. If you're delivering a very bland, cold, one size fits all offer, whether that's an email or a text message or an advertisement, you're probably not going to see very good results. And frankly, the data speaks to this. So consumers demand it. Unfortunately, only about 85% of the businesses aren't doing it right. And the reason why personalization will fail when you don't have that context and it's not driven by memory is your buyers actually expect relevance across every interaction. Certainly now that we're however many decades into the internet, customers are now expecting more than just a dear first name token based personalization. A lot of personalization will reset at various touch points. So it's not something that's consistently driven across all those consumer or customer touch points. And frankly, the context for what is being delivered to an end customer is going to be fragmented. So you likely have different tools in your tech stack. You're going to be engaging your customers across different channels, whether it might be social or email, your website, different teams. What your marketing team is delivering in a campaign may be something different than what your sales team is delivering in a customer interaction. So the whole idea is that personalization should be driven by context, and to get that context, frankly, you have to have memory. So why token-based personalization has plateaued? And token-based is when you simply, again, within the context of HubSpot, personalization tokens like, okay, insert first name here. And so token personalizations are simply personalizing a field. It's not introducing any understanding. So there's no contextual understanding of what's important to this recipient of this campaign, this email, this sales outreach. Um, Typically, with token-based personalization, the rules won't or don't adapt to changing intent. So again, your buyers might have intent that varies or changes as they learn more about your products. They might have stronger intent for product A or product B. You want to make sure that the context of what you're delivering to those customers can vary and change with that. And frankly, templates they don't remember anything and they don't reason. So again, you're giving kind of a static, I would dare say a bit of a fake personalization. Again, we're trying to um, with those tokens trying to assume or imply personalization without actually having the right context or the right memory behind it driving it. So it's important to get this right. So what happens when your AI and you start to bring in these AI systems, when it forgets, you're going to frustrate your buyers because they're going to get repetitive outreach. You're going to have messages that aren't going to build trust with your customers because it's going to be conflicting. You're not going to have a consistent delivery of an experience. And frankly, your teams are still doing manual work. So as we see here on the screen, this idea of in HubSpot, um, good to meet you at insert conference name. Okay, that's fine. You've got a token in there, but all that context of what's relevant to that recipient of that message, that email, you're missing all that when your AI is not remembering what happened at the event, what was captured there, how that transpires into a message. So as a result, you're going to get poor personalization. Your conversion rates, your open rates, your engagement rates are going to be much lower unless you deliver that personalization. So it's really, really important that you get this right. Okay, next slide. So, and also context is you'll hear that a lot as we start to really introduce this idea of what AI can do for your business and how it can deliver that really true deep personalization. And one of the key points here is that context is not just about data access because your CRM data is likely very fragmented as most CRM data is, and it's largely going to be unstructured. Um, the retrieval of that information is not necessarily understanding. So simply because you can go into a table and pull out a field and then place that into a message doesn't mean that you're delivering that in the full context of why that's relevant to the customer or to the buyer. Different prompts, they're going to produce different outputs. So essentially, you need something that's going to kind of tie all this together, guide what those experiences are, ultimately deliver that deep personalization, deliver that experience that your buyers, your customers are looking for. And so that context has to be informed and driven by something important, something meaningful, and that's really what memory is all about. Okay, so let's jump into this, Hamed, a little bit deeper. So, what does personalization require? Well, number one, it's shared understanding. So, every one of the agents that you're bringing into your business, these AI agents, they have to reason from the same version of the truth, the same customer truth. So, your memory has to be a couple things. Number one, it's got to be persistent, and that persistence has to transpire over time and across channels. So, when you have that memory, that's going to be able to drive that personalization from today, next month, next quarter, next year. And whether you're engaged in email, your website, text messaging, whatever the channel might be, social media, it's going to be contextual in that regard. And that consistency is what's going to enable scale and your ability to drive growth in your business. So our contention here, and I think the data proves this out, is that memory is really going to be that multiplier for your go-to-market. So you're going to drive better results, higher reply rates, higher conversion rates. You're going to be able to ramp and execute, say, your SDR team or your sales team is going to be able to operate much faster. And then you'll have the confidence to automate personalization at scale. So a lot of things that you'll be able to do to drive success in that regard. Okay, next slide here. All right, so let's talk about Personalize. We've been on this journey at Personalize for a number of years now, and really we built this with memory in mind and at its very core. And some of the drivers of this is that your customer data is going to be spread across many tools and sources. So we believe Personalize is a technology and a platform to bring all that together. You're going to have diverse inputs and output formats, so we take that into account. So Personalize and Hamed and the development team have taken that into mind. Also, with regard to very large CRM databases, so from 10,000 to millions of existing records, Personalize can handle and scale to that. And then this idea that you're going to have multiple agents built across different platforms and frameworks. And Hamed, I know you've got some thoughts on this, so uh, tell us what else do you think about this?
So, so I just wanted to use this slide as an opportunity to share that when we talk about personalization, Matt, it means different things for different types of products and situations when we are dealing with customers. So give you a context, when we are looking at ChatGPT or cloud, they have memory, they have personalization, but typically they are focused on chatting with someone emotionally. They remember what they said yesterday. It was important for me to highlight that when what we are going to present about memory, the context and for our building our memory is different, which is we have a database. We have a database of thousands of possibly millions of customers. They are very diverse in formats and types, in inputs and output that AI generates. They are across multiple tools. And it's not like before that people build with one platform their AI agents. Their AI agents might be built by many technologies. So we have AI agents from different providers, different experts. They need to collaborate on customer on a scale that is typically a database. And in that context, we are going to talk about memory, which is essentially like it's very important to consider when we talk about that versus when we have ChatGPT and building memory. In the context we are dealing, we have our own challenge. I'm going to talk about it, but I need to share this where we are going to contribute on building that context and memory for go-to-market teams.
Yep. That's great. So Hamed, let's double click into this a bit more. So knowing what Personalize is built for, some of the technical objectives as you were getting to on the next slide
Yeah.
here, we need to take into account batch processing, so 10,000 records up to 1 million records. We also wanted to think about, kind of no human in the loop. So this system has to kind of operate independent of a human, kind of turning every single dial, every single stage of this. And then this idea of multi-agent. So this has got to take into account that there's always going to be multiple agents in the mix. So tell us a bit more about what we're seeing here with the technical objectives and kind of what we're accomplishing with this approach.
So the reason I was sharing the context of why Personalize, what we built, we call it Personalize, and the context of the problem we are solving is related to these objectives. So when you have a database of tens of thousands of records and you want to just use a researcher or do some kind of summarization or generate an email for the end of the year campaign, consistency is important, and it's not a task that when you are chatting with some people, you might be wrong in some words or some way of talking. People can converse back and you can continue that. But when you are processing databases, consistency will be a very kind of challenging, and how to maintain it, how to measure it, how to optimize it. And 2 years ago, when we were having meaningful or essentially grammatically correct sentence generated by AI, we were celebrating. That was amazing that we are using some random word or some interesting word from the website of a company.
Yeah.
And now we have a sentence that we can insert inside an email calling a personalization. But we are moving, and essentially when you are working with businesses, they have a serious database, they have expensive customers that they are sitting there. The accuracy doesn't mean just having some beautiful wording together as a sentence. It should mean something as an expert. I'm talking to my peers, to my customers, and it should be meaningful, relevant, and useful. So that becomes okay, how we need to measure that when we have tens of thousands of records. And a big part of the information, CRM, we know them as a structure. So we have tables of contacts and companies. But if you just go and look at inside those records, you see call transcripts, you see website URL that essentially we need to scrape to understand. We have social
Yeah.
media URL. We have to go and read that page and understand it. 90% of the data we are facing is unstructured. Sometimes
Yep.
files, recordings of meetings, there are transcripts. And that means now we are dealing with memorizing information on a scale of tens of thousands of records. We need to be consistent, we need to be accurate, but now we have 90% in a structured format. So they're not the way that we can predict what would be from one record to another. And the thing is, if we don't know how to do in an optimized way, the cost would be very high, and we need to optimize for it because AI is not coming as a cheap kind of resource. It's very compute
Yeah.
and intelligence. We're adding to our layers, so we have to optimize it, and the system should be reliable. And we can talk about it as well.
Excellent. Yeah, and how about I think it leads me to this idea that when the AI agents, again, we're living in a universe of agentic architecture. So most businesses, is if we fast forward a year or two from now, most businesses, if they're running and building and bringing AI into their business, you're going to have multiple agents. So when those multiple agents don't share a unified understanding, that personalization is going to have a lot of challenges. So talk to us a little bit about what we would likely see when you don't have that unified
So
understanding of your customers.
I give you like a context of customers. So we have a chat on our website, chatting with people. We have a ticketing system that people submit tickets if they are existing customers. There are different part of their journey or stage of their journey with our business. We send an email through the marketing team for a promotion. They come to a meeting and for possible kind of request or upgrade they are looking for. This the end of the contract when we don't know these systems don't know about each other. So the term is used by the expert in this space. They call it point personalization. They just know few data points to use to build a personalized experience. But the
Mm,
thing is, we are passing that excitement now. We need to be meaningful, relevant at the same time, not conflicting with other things that we are doing. It. We hear a lot that the AI say something to me that is old months ago, like or it's not the case anymore. I changed, I moved on, or I have a completely different thing I shared yesterday. It doesn't know it, and that's the reality. Is the AI number one has its own data points when it's conversing with the user, and the other one had different data points, and if they don't talk to each other, we have conflicting behavior.
yeah.
So in that context. I think, Matt, the question is, okay, the problem is there. We want AI, and honestly, this is something that we need to accept that in the next few years, AI agents will be our part of our team and an organization. So we are hiring, we are recruiting them. But the
Yep.
challenge is if they don't understand our customer, if they don't understand our business, what we should do, and if we want to fix it and if we want to address it, how to build that unified customer understanding. Any thoughts, Matt, here?
Yeah. Well, you have to build to this. So that's the question. So how do you do that? So let's jump into it.
So,
Um,
this is a big problem in the community that we are working. Anyone dealing with AI agents, they are treating it like a new brain we are building. The brain has different layers. They need to have a multimodal. It needs to see, understand, remember things. And now we are talking about memorization. And there are ways that we are doing it today in the industry, and but they are not doing a good, or essentially they have limits when it comes to memorization of customer data on database. I'm going to talk about the differences. But one of the things that you heard a lot, maybe possibly, is the called RAG or vector databases. Essentially, Matt, what it does is you put all the content like PDF files, knowledge bases behind an interface. Essentially, the interface is not for human; it's for AI to search data. It's like the internal Google. So essentially, these databases are going to put all the information from the organizations in it, and then AI can ask a question, query, and let Google search. We search something and get some results back. It finds the most relevant chunk of information from all those PDFs, files, tables, and tools back to us. But this is something. Sometimes we think that okay, we have all the information. So organizations, this is a very effective tools for some cases. But essentially, when you put all the information, we think that we know those data. Essentially, once we have access to them, we
yeah.
understand them. But what we learned essentially when it comes to personalization, the accuracy and quality matters. So you can't assume that I have access, therefore I understand my customer. We need layers of inference. We need to make sure that we proactively understand our customers. And a tiny change in prompt, even sometimes running the same prompt two times or the same agent doing the same task, they retrieve different parts of the context. Therefore, they have different behaviors. So the
Yeah.
consistency I shared it before, it will struggle with RAG system. So because they might choose different parts of the data, they at the real time they're talking to customer data, trying to figure what information to use, and they might use some random parts, which is not random, but essentially there is an inconsistency will happen, and also conflicting behavior because it's not the same if another agent does it maybe on the same database. The other thing that the other known way, like essentially, I'm going to do. There are two ways that I'm going to highlight. One was I mentioned. This is the second part. We are hearing about MCPs and function calling. What it means, Matt, is we enable AI to interact with our applications, to interact with databases, and we use a new kind of protocol. We call it MCP, which is like an API for AI agents, and we can also introduce functions. Okay, essentially, go check my link, my Salesforce or HubSpot, look at this customer, look at this XYZ, and then it essentially does the same type of querying and checking, clicking through a code, and it just try to get that information, which is very powerful. But there are challenges coming with it. First of all, again, there is a understanding of, okay, I have these tools connected to my Salesforce. These tools are connected to my intercom and connected to my HubSpot. So I have access to everything about customer. Therefore, I know my customer, and that's not again the case because the same tool, the AI need to come up with what part of the information to use. They might query different parts again. Sometimes maybe just do it now. It might just use the last email. Just do it again. It might use the last chat or maybe something older or more recent. So there is some random, essentially inconsistency, very sensitive to the prompt and the way the AI reason. And again, this is a problem that we need to tackle. But essentially, there are limits of using MCPs and function calling. And but the other thing is it's technical, but essentially how the high level is these tools bring a lot of chunk of information from those tools, and AI needs to have very effective, efficient access to content. So you saw that when we are chatting with ChatGPT, we have words that it uses as a history of our chat to do something for us. But when you use these tools, we are adding a lot of words, essentially corpus of text to the conversations. It's like a human brain. It is overwhelming, and sometimes it cannot handle anymore. And that's one of the limits that the community is trying to come up with a solution. There are solutions emerging in the market, but still, it's an overload of information for an AI to decide.
Yeah. So I assume, Hamed, that means there has to be a certain level of understanding of consumer databases or the customer database, right? So I think you want to get into that next is what is the things that or what are the things that you should be cognizant of with those customer databases, how they're changing, the filtering issues, how functions calls might lack a durable state or a database level memory. You want to talk a little bit about that here?
And I actually, so I'm going to back to the introduction that I had for Personalize, which is we have a database of customers. The data of a customer exists across different applications, different databases. They have different types and forms. And now we need to understand them consistently with like a persistency of accuracy. So, and I compare that with ChatGPT when you have history of chats, you're conversing with people, and now you need to use some information to just use it. And if the AI make mistakes or forget something, the user can remind the AI, okay, I also said that yesterday. Can you use it? So essentially, the AI, you can correct AI by a human in the loop.
Yeah.
But when you have a database, when you doing one task at the same time for tens of thousands of records, we don't have the luxury of having someone to observe and monitor and supervise that task. So memorization in this context is also different. So if we want to understand the customer in a database, the rack system, it's not just uploading all the data about customer in somewhere and AI knows it. It's not easy to use functions and APIs to get all the information we want. It's overwhelming because there's a lot of things that they need to get. Memory should be efficient, compact, easy to access, and optimized for databases. And I just want to make sure that that's a big highlight because all the innovation, like the thing that we are going to present is enabling something that it's not almost impossible to do with those existing solutions.
Yeah. Which
Um,
requires, I think, where you're going to get into here is you need to have a multi-level memory architecture, something that incorporates, puts together that understanding of the business at the business level, the company level, and the contact level. So talk to us a little bit more
So
about how this is structured.
I use this example. So our think about Personalize as a new hire, but this person, this new agent, is going to interact with tens or hundreds or thousands of our customers. So think about what I expect this agent to know. There are two things. It needs to know my business well. It needs to know how to talk to customers. It needs to know my products, my services, my best use cases. It needs to know
Yeah.
how to the brand voice if it's writing something to customers, guidelines we have, even some examples of what we worked before for us when we use these types of kind of pitches and examples in our outbound, we got the most highest reply. We need that knowledge to be transferred to this agent. Second part is now it is interacting with our customers. I expect if it was human, you need to know that company well. You need to know who they are, what they do. You also need to look at all the historical data they already
Yeah.
share with us across different platforms. You look at their in theory, and look at all the tickets they submitted. Look at listen to all the call transcripts and meetings they had, and at the same time you are talking with some executive within that company, you also need to do the same for them. So there are three layers of memorization, and that need to be immediately available for agent if we want to get the performance of an experienced person in an organization. Building that is not easy. That takes time, and there's a lot of trial and errors. And we're trying to essentially in kind of in our architecture and also the way we put things together. And I'm going to present a bit more in the next slide. We aim to tackle those issues. How to make sure that if there is an agent built by Personalize or another organizations, once they're added to your organizations, this memory enable them to perform and operate like an expert who knows your business well, who
Yeah.
knows your customer well, and the rest would be just the right task management essentially.
Yeah, and Hamed, if you think about the best employees of your business, it will be the ones who have that deep level understanding of what's our business, how do we go to market, how do we operate, et cetera. They would know everything deeply about the customer and their company. They'll know the actual customer themselves at the contact level. So essentially what we're talking about here is this memory architecture really enables essentially your best employee to come to life to serve your business and your customers in the best possible way to deliver that level of personalization. No different than if you have a customer support rep or a customer success manager who's talking to a customer and they have all that data in front of them. They also have a lot of corporate knowledge in their head, and they understand the context of this customer engaged with us last week with this issue. I'm bringing that knowledge forward to this week. So there's that contemporary, understanding across time. But now we also have this at this multi-level. So what does that lead us to? Let's jump into the next slide. And
Actually, I'm going to share
yeah,
that part, which is what this opens as a new opportunity for organizations. But
yeah.
before moving that, and I don't want to talk in details about this graph, but there is at least I can share a
Yeah,
bit about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
tell us about what do we mean like because obviously this is like the before and after, or if you have external data, you've got a very sophisticated prompt architecture you've got to have. What does this mean when you have this memory architecture? How does that
So
affect the prompts?
So for in the last 2 3 years, we have different paradigms. Essentially, the community is evolving to be more sophisticated. At the same time, we are using AI to more complex and advanced tasks in a quality of an expert. So essentially, you heard about writing codes in a production level of quality. Essentially, we build software like a senior software expert. So why and how we could get there? So one of the things that we also adopted as on our the designs principles was prompts are built by some technical people with lots of trial and errors in organization, but they are in part of one agent. So the agent might be built on one platform. And the thing is, organizations now have many agents built on different platforms. The reusability of the information and learning over time in this, what we call them, like those memories, are very important. And the paradigm is already changing, and that's why we are building software in a quality that we couldn't even imagine. Is What
Yeah.
we learn, we have to reuse it in every agent we have, and we can't hard code it in the prompt. The prompt was 2 years old ago, and it works, and it still works, but it's not scalable. It's not production ready. And one of the things that we do is we shrink that requirement of managing and optimizing and maintaining prompt over time to minimal, and make most of the elements of the prompt reusable as part of memorization. So over time, if we have an agent that we just built on something that might come 2027, the memory right away enable that agent to know everything, to act, perform effectively. It's like the prompt is optimized for our business. So that's the paradigm shift, and that's very important to consider because this is a big challenge if you want to go to the production grade types of personalization.
Yep. So let's get into what this means. And so with Personalize, what we've actually built is the unified customer memory. We call this Cortex. So Cortex Unified Customer Memory. This is our platform. It's a core part of Personalize, and this operates independently of all the individual agents. Essentially, for our customers, it serves as that single source of truth for customer understanding. So walk us through kind of the five primary elements of Cortex UCM and how this applies to how our customers can take advantage of it.
I'm going to um, introduce these five aspects of memory. And I want you as the audience connect these dots to essentially what I mentioned about other alternatives, MCPs and RAG system, and the more dominant solutions in the market for memory and in the context of CRM. The first thing is we call it proactive memorization. What it means is most of these systems, they just passively get the data and just make that ready and searchable for agents to use. We believe we need to be proactive. We need to infer information. We need to take actions on the data. We need to extract more meaningful, actionable memories from the raw data. And we call it proactive memorization. And that enables to have a very high quality pieces of information ready for AI to use. Let me give you an example. So one of the things that the simple example I use is we want to know if the company is B2B or B2C, if they are SaaS or non-SaaS, do they have this type of subscription model or not? And for that, the whole routing of AI agents might be different. They have different pitches. They might qualify or disqualify some companies. So if you provide all the script content of a company behind the scene to to an agent, it can essentially do it. But there is a chance it might still miss some parts, and it's essentially maybe they don't see the information they want to decide what SaaS model they have. For example, the script content doesn't talk about their business model. But the thing is, proactiveness means they need that quality, condensed insights and intel to personalize. But the raw data is pages of our raw data. We proactively extract those memories, make them searchable and available to the agents. And
Yeah.
with that kind of the movement back to the consistency and accuracy and the way that we can control it at the scale, that's how we are doing it. The other thing is when we have memories, we can have them in different formats and shapes and memorization. Why? Because we are going to ask, I'm looking for a company that when I was researching them, they were B2B and they were SaaS and they have this trial business model. Question, but when you have tens of thousands of records, you can't give it the chance to find random records. You want to get as much as accurate as possible 5,332 companies that match that query. So you need a standardization of the way you are defining those memory attributes. So that's
Hmm.
one of the things we've done because we want to make them searchable and reusable and at a scale. And these memories are built on unstructured data. So essentially, we are working with unstructured data, but we made them in a format that now we can query. And the other thing is number four, I would say, and I move to the next one. Is essentially actually not number five as well. Is the recall. So if there are a chat interface in our website, and we have a marketing team sending a marketing email to the same person, if they are interacting with customer within a few hours, if they once the customer interact with them, they recall memories, and both have the same understanding of a customer. That's the promise we are giving. So essentially, if there is something about the customers, everyone needs to know about it and in an
Yeah.
effective way, which is that memorization and compacting memories in a way that they can use it.
Yeah.
And
And,
then,
and Hamed, on that point, you could have employee number one in Los Angeles, employee number two in Boston. They both query that system. That memory will deliver the same result
the
to
same
different
result,
employees.
which
Yeah.
is which is at
Yeah.
a scale very
Yeah.
important. Essentially,
Yeah.
that's where we start and not trusting AI to be consistent when we are moving from one kind of task to another. The
Yeah.
last part is we we are the guilty of that. Essentially, we build our own agent builder in our platform, but the market moved to everyone has different agent builder. You can use Microsoft Office 365 Copilot. You can use LangChain. You can use AWS. You can use tons of platforms. N8N for no-code AI agent building. The thing is, people build AI agents in minutes, and they can test, they can experiment, they can try different sources. And when you have an organization, all employees, they have the opportunity to build them. Now we have different builders, we have different technology stack, but they need to share the same understanding of the customer. So that's the role of memory that you need to maintain. So every one of them might try to connect and get the data what they need, but that create a point personalization. So the memory responsibility is in the world that we have agents joining our organizations. We need to make sure that they understand our business consistency well and accurate, and at the same time they all know our customers.
Yep. Excellent. Yeah.
Just
So tell us how, if you want to build this in Personalize, what does this mean for
I'll
our
keep it
customers?
brief now, but essentially, I just want to make it more tangible. So essentially, we have a setup type part, which is we part of the proactiveness math. We are going once someone sign up to our platform. Essentially, we proactively deep research them, analyze them, set up a lot of things that we are asking the user, our memory to needs to know. And that's one of the things that start people when they get impressed how we know everything about their business. So essentially, after this Cortex setup, which is we set up global variables, so on and so forth, if we ask our AI agents using our own memory, nothing steal from the customer, it can write emails, it can research the customer, it can elaborate the way that the expert, after years of experience, the company can do. So that's the beauty of memory when it's accessible for AI agents. So the architecture I told you that the business level memories goes under global variables where we start understanding guidelines, instructions, examples, brand voice, anything that would be important. And the way we
Yeah.
enforce memories, when I talk about standardizing attributes and searchability, call them AI properties. There are ways that we start structuring the memory in attributes that now we can search and we can query, we can route the leads, we can prioritize, we can qualify, and so on and so forth. And then the integration layer focus on make it the idea of a memory is the promise is it should be easy to send data to memorize and it should be easy to recall and fetch the memories back to the system. It is essentially math. Sometimes I call it like I said, essentially it's a CRM for AI agents. It doesn't have
Yeah.
interface, but AI needs to know something, they need to get it. If they have something new, they need to put it easily to the cortex and the
Yep.
memory. And the last part is the MCP, which is what I discussed in the beginning. But our MCP essentially enable an AI agent, whoever built it, whatever platform they use, in a few seconds, once the MCP is added, it already connected to all the things that they need to know about the business, the customer. So therefore, they're accurate, they're persistent, they can start operating well. So that's there's a lot of details around it, but essentially, I just want to give you a sense of how our memory works. And typically, when a customer sign ups, all these are already set up for them. It takes between 5 or 10 minutes to get that up and running, but essentially,
Yeah.
it's a good start point for them.
Yeah. Well, and to kind of bring all this home and really appreciate everyone sticking through us. We've got our Q&A here. We'll come up here in a minute. So if you think about what are the business outcomes? So if you're using memory, if you've got this kind of a capability built into your business, what does this mean for your buyers? Well, this means your buyers can now experience that continuity across every interaction. So whether it's a salesperson, a marketing team, delivering campaigns, engaging in sales sequences, using HubSpot, landing pages, writing blog content, all that can have a level of continuity you can't otherwise achieve without that memory. um, delivering that relevance automatically. So again, if you're crafting an outreach campaign, an outreach email, all that can be done so that it's connected to or driven by that context, what is delivered by that memory. Um, Hamed mentioned, these multiple AI agents that you'll have in your business. Now those multiple agents can act consistently across the channels. So you're not going to have that conflict. You're not going to have repetitive outreach. And then most importantly, your teams internal to your business will be able to scale your personalization to all of your customers. And you're not going to have to sacrifice accuracy. You're not going to have to sacrifice brand control of how your business delivers that message. So with that said, really appreciate everyone sticking with us. Before we get to the Q&A here, Hamed, we are offering Personalize for free. So this is our platform that enables you to help make your HubSpot much smarter. And you can get this done before the year ends. So if you sign up today, sign up before the end of the month, December 31st, use the code 60 free. That will unlock for you 10,000 credits at no cost, free 60-day AI personalization engine you can use to apply to your business. Works great in HubSpot. We'll get you set up. There's no credit card, no sales calls. It's just getting you to perform and getting Personalized to perform for your business. So do that at personalize.ai/sign up. Sign up with a dash in the middle, sign dash up. So personalize.ai, sign up there, and yeah, get started with Personalize. So with that said, if we have any questions from the audience, feel free to drop it into the chat. Um, so if you just want to stay on that last screen, Hamed,
I don't
as we
have in
get
just
to
a
some
second.
Q&A. Yep. I'm in the Zoom here, so we may have some folks with some questions for us. And I know we cover some fairly technical aspects of this. We also covered why the memory is important. So maybe a question for the audience is um, probably most of us are using AI in some sense. I'm just curious if anyone here can see where that memory would be beneficial to their business and be important to delivering that consistency with their customers. So, any thoughts, even, or any questions from the audience at this point? Feel free to text it to us in the chat window there. If you look at the bottom of your Zoom screen, there should be a chat function. Feel free to ask some questions there. So one of the questions we've got is lots of platforms connect customer data but don't use memory. Why do you guys think they're blatantly missing this layer for lead outreach? Well, maybe it's not blatantly missing it, but it's something that they're not building into or architecting into their system. So, Hamed, what are your thoughts around why we're not really seeing memory as um, proactively addressed into the marketplace as we may in the next year?
the 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 world is changing fast, and the systems we are seeing as a customer data aggregation platform or CRM, CDPs, or any platform on that sense, they are built for humans. Let me explain that. So typically, they are good for analytics, for reporting. They are good for interface that you can data entry, and a lot of time they are touching 10% of data. That's one of the reality is they have access, they're storing customer data. But the part that they can really leverage and utilize is that 10%. The example I use is simple lead scoring and qualification. We have records of chats, tickets, everything. But if you use the leading CRMs, you see they are scoring a lead based on number of clicks or pages they visited or they opened an email. That's the tiny information we know about those customers. They have a lot of information, but because they're unstructured, they cannot utilize them in an effective way. So the memory we are talking is we are interfacing that 90% and also even that 10% in formats. Not only now it's like a much richer context, and large language model can also leverage them. It also opens. We are optimizing not for human, not for reporting, not for analytics. The key objective is these agents, they need to be accurate, consistently, and meaningful and effective at a scale. So essentially, different objective, different focus, different architecture. but complementary. So I would be surprised if we don't have layers of overlaps. And essentially, we are leveraging a lot of those overlap already ourselves because this is a 2 decade technology infrastructure we have for customer data. And but we are building layers that are missing, that are required, that opens new doors for AI agentic work.
Okay, great. Thanks, Hamadi. I'm seeing another question around what are some of the practical applications of this memory to go to market? So thinking about go to market, Hamed, with marketing efforts, sales efforts, I think some of the practical applications as I see it are number one, you get the memory will drive consistency across campaigns. So if you're a marketing team, you have that context as to the offer you're making this week, how your customers respond to that. That goes into that and feeds that memory ability so that the future campaigns can be informed by that. Other ways would be how you're engaging with your customers through, say, sales sequences. What's the right way if you know you have a particular contact that is more responsive to particular sales outreach than others? Something that can help inform that. Hamed, any other practical applications you can think of you would be able to cite, kind of the real world business benefit of memory to go to market for a
So
business?
so thanks. That is actually a very important question. I have my own take from it, which is we when we talk about customer data and GTM, um, a lot of times the most solutions in the market, you look at the cheapest data source, like you buy a big number of lists, or still you're maybe a year ago you were blasting all of them. Now you are adding personalization, and the personalization means you look at their homepage, just use some words, build a beautiful sentence, and put it there. But the market, or even around that, is getting more sophisticated.
Yeah.
And because you need to move from 1 or 2 pages to tens of pages about each business. So now you have a lot of context you need to organize and utilize in an effective way. You are going from one email personalized to a sequence, a chain. You are going to, after from one person to now, thinking about an or a company and account that you are targeting behind it. So things getting more complex even on that front. But the holy grail for what we are presenting is when you know a bit more about those customers. They click through paid ads, they come to your website and visit some pages, they submitted the form, they are past customer, purchased something from you, they already met your team over years. We have users, they have um, 70, 80,000 call recordings with the over years, and they need that's gold mine for them to
Yeah.
reactivate those opportunities. There is a reactivation opportunity, there is a win back opportunity. So memory will shine when you have expensive leads and you have a wealth of kind of opportunities, but you can't touch them because you have no idea who they were and how to know them, how to strategize per contact, per account, and that will be you need efficient, effective way to access the data. And the other things I would say these are reality and it's happening. So I think we just building what needs to be built because that is coming. And one of the things will come here, we don't have it yet, is actually Google is one of the things that one of the companies that is advocating the concept is generative UI, generative websites. The websites are going to be built, digital experience are going to be built per person. And to build that meaningful experiences, especially in a context of customer visiting website or interacting with your content, memory is key. And for the technology that comes in a few years, that the winners will have that to win and delight the customer, therefore they get less conversions. You need the foundation, which all go through a strong memorization layer.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd say memory is really going to be that key attribute that
Yeah.
is going to be core and a major primary component of being effective with AI. Okay, well, I think that's it for our questions here. I think in the interest of time, we'll wrap it up here. So, want to thank everyone again joining us for our webinar today, and appreciate everyone who's been part of our webinar series this quarter. Hamed, if you want to flip to the next slide, we'd like to announce our next series is gonna happen in 2026. So in Q1, we're going to be talking all about the AI first go-to-market playbook for the year for 2026. So we'll be announcing those as we get towards the end of this month and before we head into Q1 of 2026. So want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays, and hope you wrap up strongly for the end of the year. And look forward to seeing you all in 2026. So thanks again, everyone, for joining, and thank you, Ahmed, for joining us on today's webinar and taking us through the importance of memory. Bye
Thank
bye.
you, everyone, and look forward to seeing you in 2026.
Cheers.